Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It is me, E. In today's video I am going to be drawing two other of the main characters from my book that I've been working on. These two characters are the two boys. The taller one is named Wesley and he's the second protagonist, and the other boy, the shorter one, is named Thiago, and he meets our two protagonists a little bit into the book. And kind of becomes, in a way, the third wheel, but in another way not. So our main character, Wesley, is kind of a counterpart to Jayla, who I drew in last week's video. He is similar to her in that he's very smart and academically gifted and good at math, but he's different from Jayla in that school-wise he's not quite as motivated. He's a little bit lazy. He is pretty self-centered and selfish, and incredibly dorky, whereas Jayla is really cool. So they have this kind of opposite personality thing going on, and they clash a lot, but they are still best friends. And then Thiago, who's standing here with Wesley, is very charming and handsome and is kind of a middle ground between the two main characters. He is a good person. He's not selfish like Wesley, but he's a little bit more good-natured than Jayla is. He's super optimistic, and he and Wesley are both believers, not only in God, but in just the general supernatural, and specifically Bigfoot, which is who these kids are looking for in this book. These aren't the only characters in the book. There's some other ones. Wesley's younger brother, Michael, is a character in the book who kind of serves to agitate Wesley. There are the other kids from the church youth group who go to this camp with them. There's Lisa Marie, who's this type A, super uptight girl, and her boyfriend Josiah, who is this suppressed frat boy type. There's Jenny, who's super bubbly, talkative, and annoying. There's Rebecca, who's kind of shy and reserved. And then there's Talia, who is kind of like Jayla's friend at camp, who so she kind of has a girlfriend that she can hang out with and not just these two annoying boys all the time. In this video, last week I kind of discussed some of my tips with you about how you can get your book written. In this week's video, I'm going to share with you tips on how to make a book that you'll actually like. So you very well may write a 50,000 word book, but when you get to the end of it, you hate it. And that has happened to me several times. So here's some things I've learned from those experiences, and then from this experience of writing a book, which I like a little bit more, that maybe will help you write a book that you actually are passionate about. So my first tip is to write about what you like, but do not write about yourself. They always say write about what you know, and that's true to an extent, but don't write about stuff that you know 100% of. A little bit of research will keep your writing fresh. If you make a book that's just 100% based on your own life, I promise you will get bored writing it. So choose to write about something you're really interested in, but not necessarily something that has happened to you. So if you like video games, you can incorporate that. If you like supernatural stuff, you can write about that. There may be chapters, dialogue, events, whatever in the book that are based on things that have happened to you in real life, but the whole story should not be. Along with that, number 2, you need to figure out who the characters are before you write the book, and do not base any on yourself. They will be boring, flat nothings if you do not decide what kind of personality they're going to have beforehand, and if they're based on yourself, they'll probably be boring too. Their dialogue and their thoughts are not going to be distinct enough from the rest of the narration, so you need to make their voice unique from your own. Also, in my opinion, we tend to view ourselves too complexly to distill our personalities down to that of a likable book character. If you want to base characters off of people you know in real life, that's cool, but I would recommend not basing them off of people that you know super well, because you'll run into the same problem where they're too complex and you won't be able to get a vision for who they really are. The third tip I have is to practice writing regularly, but do not only write fan fiction. Fan fiction is great writing practice, and it can help you with writing more realistic dialogue, plot, descriptions, all that kind of stuff, but it really doesn't help with characterization since fanfic is already based on other people's characters. So you really do need to practice developing your own characters. To me, I like character-driven stories. Personally, that's my favorite type of story. There could be a story with, that really doesn't have much of a plot, but if the characters are likable, enigmatic, then I'll get invested. Examples of this would be like the movie Dazed and Confused. There's really not much plot going along, but the dialogue and the characters are so funny and likable, even though there's so many of them, that it's a really engaging movie. So I recommend writing regularly, but not just fan fiction. Really practice all aspects of writing. My fourth tip is to make sure that you have a plan for what the moral of the story is going to be, even if there is no moral. Once I got to the end of a book I was writing and I realized that I didn't agree with what my book was suggesting, so for my own conscience sake, I wrote this dumb twist ending and the whole writing project was ruined. The ending sucked, but there was nothing I could do about it, because if I had written the ending like I was originally planning to, it would have contradicted my own beliefs. So you need to figure out what message you're going to try and convey, if any, before you start writing so that you can be consistent throughout the book. And my fifth and final tip is the only one that's really going to be about actual technical writing, and that is try not to use too many adverbs. I know this is kind of odd, but if you want to describe the way that something was done, use imagery to do that. Sights, sounds, smells, that kind of stuff. Adverbs are good to use when you need to be concise. So, he walked stealthily. If you're writing a quick scene and you're not trying to belabor exactly how things were done, you can use an adverb. But it's a little bit more rich if you say, instead of he walked stealthily, you can say he creeped on tiptoes, watching the ground to ensure that he did not step on anything crunchy. That way you get the idea. Okay, he's trying to be stealthy, but you've described a little bit more about how he's doing it. And those are my writing tips. To me, the biggest thing is characters. Characters. You need to make them interesting, likable, complex, but not so complex that you can't tell who they are. You don't want them to be one-dimensional. You don't want them to be two-dimensional. You want a three-dimensional character, but you don't want them to be overwhelmingly descriptive and overwhelmingly complex. Then you lose the forest for the trees, as they say. So you want to make sure you keep the image of those characters clear in people's minds. I think that'll make that writing the most interesting and the most fun. Just have fun with your writing. As far as this piece goes, I'm kind of wrapping it up here. In the line art stage, Thiago was kind of looking like an old man, but I think I redeemed it with the coloring. Thiago is obviously Latin American, Hispanic teen. He is originally from New Jersey, but moved to the South and got in connection with Wesley and Jayla at summer camp. And he's a really fun guy. Wesley, not so much, but I really like the way this drawing turned out. He looks cute, but awkward, which I guess is kind of the way I imagine him. Long face, long nose, long arms, really lanky and skinny, his shirt's bagging off of him. So I'm happy with the way that this turned out in the end. I hope you all have a great week ahead of you, and good luck with your writing projects. Bye-bye.